Our adventure begins with a long plane ride. First leg, we fly from Seattle to Dallas-Fort Worth. Yesterday, a big storm front was making its way across the country. The fresh snow highlights the mesas in Utah's canyonlands. Over the Rockies, the snow has really piled up. Out on the plains, the drifting snow makes interesting patterns. Dallas had 12 inches of snow last night, a record. In spite of the unusual conditions, we're on time for the next leg to Miami. It's great to see the Miami sun after all that snow. We overnight in Miami and then join most of our fellow travelers for the last leg to Panama City. Flying into Panama City, it looks like a little Miami with lots of high-rise buildings. We land at Tocumen International Airport, the busiest airport in Central America. We collect our bags, clear customs, and board buses for the 90-minute trip across the country to Cologne, where our ship, the Sea Lion, is waiting for us. Captain David Sinclair and our expedition leader, Tom O'Brien, welcome us on board. As we get underway, we're immediately aware of the heavy traffic. The sun sets and we enjoy our first dinner on board while we wait our turn for the Panama Canal. We get a briefing on the Panama Canal. We'll be going through 3 stages of locks at each end of the canal. These locks will raise the Sea Lion 85 feet to the level of Gatun Lake. The first locks are the Gatun locks, which are 1.2 miles long. They were completed in 1913 after 4 years of construction. The brightly lit locks are visible from quite a distance. The mooring lines are brought to the ship with a rowboat. Electric locomotives called mules hold the ship in place with the mooring lines. The heavy 47-foot-high gates open for us. We'll be sharing the locks with these vessels. In about an hour, we've moved south 1.2 miles and up 85 feet. We move out of the locks and onto Gatun Lake. We drop anchor off Barro Colorado for the night. We're up early to watch the sunrise. Barro Colorado was a hilltop that became an island when the canal was built. In 1923, it was set aside as a nature preserve. Because of limited access, it became a favorite research site for biologists. Since 1946, the island has been the site of the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. We are privileged to have been granted special permission for a visit. Our guide is a research biologist at the Institute. She leads us up to the top of the island. We pass the towering giants of the tropical forest canopy. The insects, as well as the trees, grow big here. A troop of squirrel monkeys moves through the forest canopy just ahead of us. We stop to watch them for 15 or 20 minutes. Look closely. There's a small spider in the web. That's the male orb spider. After they mate, she'll eat him. Then back to the Sea Lion for the mandatory abandoned ship drill. We weigh anchor and get back in line to finish our transit of the canal. We get acquainted with our traveling companions, especially the CSAV Rio Nevado. This will be our view for the rest of the transit as we follow the Rio Nevado through the locks. The Rio Nevado is a Panamax car carrier with a capacity of 4,900 cars. It's probably headed back to Japan or South Korea for another load for the eastern United States. All along the canal are special purpose vessels, cranes, dredges, and Thor, a barge for drilling holes and planting explosives. The Panama Canal Railroad predates the canal. Today, it's mostly for the tourists. We're approaching the Gaylord Cut, named for Major David Gaylord, who was in charge of the central portion of the canal construction project. The cut was one of the most difficult parts of the canal construction. 100 million yards of material was removed, lowering the continental divide here by 153 feet. This beautiful bridge is the Centennial Bridge, completed in 2004. We're approaching the Pedro Miguel locks, which will lower us 31 feet in a single stage. Tugs come up to ease the Rio Nevado into the locks. A water taxi brings the line handlers on board. The job of the line handlers is to secure the mooring lines connected to the mule to the ship. Up to 6 mooring lines and mules are used per ship. The mule operator sends over the mooring cables. The line handlers pull over the heavy cables and tie them off. The line handlers and the mule operators repeat the process until the ship is secured on all sides. Then we move up behind the Rio Nevado and the blocks. The mules aren't pulling us, just keeping us centered. The Rio Nevado is a Panamax ship, meaning it has the maximum dimensions allowed in the canal. It's 104 feet wide and the locks are only 110. Imagine driving your car through a tunnel with 3 inches of clearance on each side. The Miraflores locks will lower us 52 feet to sea level. As it starts to get dark, we reach the sea level and head for the Pacific Ocean. We pass the port of Balboa and then out to the Pacific. We pass under the Bridge of the Americas and the Pan American Highway. We celebrate our transit of the Panama Canal with drinks on the aft deck.